Hello everyone, and welcome to Module 2 of your Senior Experience course. When you look at the activities for this module, it may seem that not much is expected of you, but there is in fact a lot that needs to happen in this module if you're going to be able to complete the activities in the next module. I hope that you're getting comfortable with the two major projects in the course, your final project, the online community project, and your portfolio blog project. And in the background, you are hopefully enjoying and being renewed by your reading of Jeffrey Bellman's book, a rather light reading, I think. But let's take a moment to consider where we are with each of these projects. In terms of your final project, the online community project, it's time to commit to an online community that will be the subject of your project and the communication theory you will relate to it if you haven't already done this. And it's time to put into your own words what that community is and why you chose it, as well as explain the theory that you are relating to it and why you think it's a good one in this case. I ask you to do this in your written assignment for this week, and I ask you to attach some samples of the text you're looking at, whether it be stories or blog posts. In the discussion forum, I ask you to take just one of your samples and specifically point out how it relates to your theory. The idea is that as you look at more and more samples, you will find some samples that relate to a part of the theory in similar ways, and some samples that relate to some other part of the theory in similar ways. For instance, let's take the example I gave you in the handout about the assignments. And in that example, one of the examples, I suggest that you could use the agenda setting notion of framing to look at success stories posted on a website like Weight Watchers. You might first notice that several of the stories have some similarities. They might all start out with the idea that they've been fighting weight issues since they were children. This would be the idea of what stories are chosen that's related to the theory. But then, as you read more and more stories, you begin to notice that some stories focus on health issues related to their weight, while others focus on psychological or emotional issues related to their weight. This would be related to the idea of what focus is taken that's part of the agenda setting theory. Almost all of the stories talk a lot about the various people and programs at Weight Watchers that were key to their success. This could be described as what is beefed up in the story. You might notice that only one story mentions that they have been on and off of Weight Watchers several times, while none of the other stories really say if it worked the first time or if they had to try several times. This might be something you notice that could be what is excluded, that part of the agenda setting theory. You might be able to find a variety of examples that relate to each of these aspects of the theory. For this module, you need to really wrestle with your understanding of the theory that you have picked. Do you understand it pretty thoroughly? Can you explain the theory in your own words? Can you give an example of how it relates to typical communication events? Feel it, live it, talk about it to others. Then immerse yourself in the text of your online community and let it speak to you. Wait until you have read quite a bit of the text on the online community before you try to connect anything with your theory or try to fit it. It should feel messy and confusing for a while. Just an aside here, this process is also known as chaos theory, if any of you have ever heard of that. It's the idea that things have to be messy and confusing, almost overwhelming, before order can be seen and restored. If you think it feels messy and confusing, you're probably doing the right things. Eventually, you will see some order in the chaos. It won't be perfect order, but some things will begin to fit into categories and boxes. In the end, everything does not have to fit somewhere. There might be some stories or some of the interaction that doesn't seem to make sense in terms of your theory. That's okay. We're looking at people interacting and telling stories. It's not going to be neat. It's not going to be completely understandable. But that doesn't mean we can't walk away with a fairly good sense of some things that are in fact going on with those stories or interactions. So get immersed in your theory and the text related to your online community during this module. In terms of your blog portfolio, you'll be submitting to me a link to it by the end of the next module. This will be considered a draft of your blog, but it needs to include most of the parts, and they all need to be mostly complete. So for this module, you really need to get the shell of your blog or web page produced and the look of it designed so you can start putting parts in. Think about including a picture of yourself and some other design elements that reflect your professional and academic self, including color, font, and the different sections you want to have. You will also want to use this time to go back through all of your materials from all of your courses and pick out some artifacts you could share on your blog. You'll need to consider how those will look. Do you need to change anything about the form they are in? Do you need to provide a link? Will you embed that link so that someone could just click on the miniature screen and experience the link, or not? Do you want to change the appearance of or reformat any of the samples of your work? All of these things need to be considered at this time. In the discussion forum, I ask you to share at least one artifact you're going to display on your blog and begin your answer to at least one of the reflection questions I've posed for you. I'm hoping this will just help you get started thinking about your blog and getting some pieces done. Finally, you will be finishing up most of Bellman's book. There will only be a short section left to read during the next module. And during the next module, your task will be to write the critical analysis of the book. The guidelines for that analysis are posted for you with this module's material right below this video, so you can think about that assignment now. In both of the forums, I have again started a discussion thread where you can post questions and concerns about either of the major projects. And as always, please contact me if you want to discuss anything with further detail.